Good morning, everyone. Nice to have you here. I am very happy to see that participants so far are people from the Pastinova project, but also people outside the Pastinova project as well. I would like to welcome everyone. My name is Athanasios Ragos, as you can see probably on your screen. I have the honor to be the coordinator of Pastinova project, which is close to finishing. And one of the things that we are doing is a series of webinars where we discuss some of the phenomena, some of the results, some of the issues that are arising as a result of our research activities in Pastinova project. So in Pastinova, we are targeting pastoral systems, and we want to have a contribution in finding solutions that are common for pastoral people in the Mediterranean area. And one of the main activities of the project is to understand the total, I would say, footprint. Sorry, I'm not an expert on the methodology of pastoral systems. And the LCA, the life cycle assessment methodology, is the basis for to improve our understanding on this issue. This webinar is a little different than the previous ones that we had for two reasons. The first is that it's going to be quite interactive, and you will see what I mean. The organizers from Eco-Innovazione and CNR are going to explain this very thoroughly. And the second thing is that, and I'm happy to say this, that a new methodology is being developed here. So the social LCA is, of course, not new, but its application on pastoral systems and on the understanding that we have of pastoral systems is something very innovative. And I'm very happy to be here today and that people are here today to follow this new methodology that is being developed. So you see on the webinar program that we have one key presentation, which is about the methodology, and then there is going to be an interactive part which is going to be moderated by people from Eco-Innovazione and CNR. I think that before we give the floor to the speakers of the initial presentation, I would like to ask Antonello Franca to say hello and maybe provide a very, very small introduction. And I don't know also if Enrico Vagnoni would like to say something. From my side, thank you very much, and looking forward to listening to all the speakers.
Thank you, Thanos. Just a few words saying that, as usual, you have been perfect in introducing this webinar and focusing about the reasons why we have chosen LCA as a method for talking and thinking about life cycle thinking on pastoral systems in the Mediterranean area. So I just would say hello to everyone and enjoy this webinar for the rest of the time. And I give the floor to Enrico Vagnoni, my colleague at the CNR, for introducing the sessions and all the work we have to do in the next half an hour, 2 hours. Thank you very much, Thanos, and thank you to everyone.
Good morning. Thank you, Antonello. Thank you, Thanos. Thank you, Marisol. And a very warm welcome also for my part for joining the 5th webinar of Pastinova entitled Social Life Cycle Assessment, Socio-economic Implication Along the Life Cycle of Pastoral Product. I'm Enrico Vagnoni. I'm a researcher at the National Research Council after CNR. With a PhD in agricultural sciences, and I'm an expert in rural development and application of life cycle assessment to rural environment and agri-food supply chain, especially shaped product. My role in Passinova is to supervise all LCA activity scheduled in the project, and I'm here also for representing all the staff of the CNR that are very well coordinated by Antonello. As Thanos already explained, the webinar today is divided in two parts. The first one is just to introduce the general method of the social life cycle assessment, and also to explain the main feature of the LCA, or the social LCA that we are building for pastoral product with the help of Econovazione. The second part of the webinar will be devoted to collect the feedback from participants. This is the very important part of the webinar, because all the result of this interaction will be implemented in the development of the methodology. So it's really important your activity, feedback and your actively participation. So the webinar will be conducted by Alessandra Zamagni and Anna Niero from Econovazione, is an Italian consultant in life cycle thinking methodologies. We are talking about of a very high-profile scientific expert in life cycle assessment, the social life cycle, life cycle assessment. With Econovazione, we have a long collaboration, long and fruitful collaboration. So we invited them for as expert for both conducting this webinar and help us in building a tailored social LCA methodology for the pastoral product. But why the social LCA in Passinova? Our intention is to complement the investigation about the environmental implication of the pastoral product with a socio-economic perspective. So to fully investigate the sustainability implication of pastoral product in order to improve the system and to valorize the systems. The further steps scheduled within Passinova will be the implementation of the methodology developed in a Sardinian case study, and then deliver the method as a proper deliverable the project. Again, looking forward, we hope to implement in a more massive manner the method that we've developed within Passinova in new projects. So the next med, for instance, the next med call is now open. So we are looking forward to other proposal in continuity to Passinova in order to also to test this methodology, new methodology in a very wide context. Thank you again, and give the floor to to Alessandra and Anna to also for a brief self presentation of yourself, and enjoy the webinar to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Enrico, for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to see so many of you connected today. Just to briefly introduce ourselves, Anna, my colleague, and I am Alessandra Zamagni. I'm the Scientific Director of Econovazione. As already explained by Enrico, we are a research consultancy company. We are a spin-off of Enea, a public research institution in Italy. As a background, I'm an environmental engineer, and I have a PhD in life cycle sustainability assessment, and I have been working on the environmental footprint method for many years, and including the social methodology in particular. But I leave the floor to Anna to introduce herself.
Thanks, Alessandra. Good morning, everybody, and very nice to meet you all. My name is Anna Niero, and I am an environmental economist as a background. I have a PhD in environmental agriculture and food sciences, and during my PhD, I focused on the social life cycle assessment methodology within agri-food systems. And thank you for participating to today's webinar.
Thank you, Anna. I think we can start now. And Anna, if you could share the presentation, we will go through the main parts.
Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And okay, so as anticipated by Enrico, the focus of today will be really on understanding a little bit more what the social life cycle assessment methodology is about, and try also what we would like to do is to engage with you as much as possible to get your inputs, your expert input in the process, and we will show you in a minute how. And we can move to the next one. As anticipated, these 2 hours of webinar will be split into 2 main parts. In the first part will be mainly us describing the overall methodology and presenting you the conceptual framework that we have developed for application to the pastoral system, because as highlighted already in the beginning of this webinar today, they have very peculiar characteristic that requires to be taken into account in order to fully assess their social impacts, both positive and negative. And then we will start engaging with you. We have also set some ad hoc tools such as the Mentimeter, but we would like also to hear your voices. So during the second part, please don't be shy and just support us in better understanding how we can evaluate this very complex and multifaceted system. So a few rules for today, a general one, and given that there are some people connected, we kindly ask you to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. But of course, anytime raise your hand or write in the chat if you'd like to provide your feedback, intervene, and present your perspective. This is especially in the second part of the webinar, but also in this first part. Maybe at the end of the presentation, we take some moments for a discussion and question time. Take also with you and keep your devices at hand, because in the second part there will be some polls which will be invited to answer. And of course, as mentioned, be active as much as possible, because social LCA requires a stakeholders' view, and today is an opportunity for starting getting some of them. So let's discuss a bit about the social LCA methodology. For those of you who are not familiar with this terminology and with this methodology, when we talk about social LCA, we refer to a social life cycle assessment. And as such, it's a methodology that is used for assessing social impacts or performances or risks. I will explain you the difference shortly. And both impacts, performances, and risk can be positive and negative, and they are assessed along the whole life cycle. As in LCA, the ultimate goal is the one of improving a defined target, which in our case is represented by human dignity and the well-being. The social LCA is a methodology that mirrors very much the LCA one. So it structures in terms of phases, such as in LCA. So we have a goal and scope phase, an inventory phase, an impact assessment phase, and an interpretation phase. And it has a lot of differences compared to LCA. So this is an important element to acknowledge. In terms of characteristics, a social LCA is rooted into the stakeholder perspective. So stakeholders are a key element of the assessment, and they have both a more active and passive role. So stakeholders contribute to the methodology setting by providing their view in terms of what is relevant in a system and in terms of what matters, but at the same time, they are those who suffer for the social impacts caused by a product system, for example. And so they are taken into account all along the life cycle, and we will see that there are different categories of stakeholders that are accounted for. Another important characteristic of the social LCA, and that it distinguishes it from other social assessment methodology, is the life cycle perspective, which means that as in LCA, we account for the product system starting from the cradle to the grave. So really expanding the boundaries of common social assessment beyond what is under control by an organization, by actors, and going very much upstream and downstream the whole life cycle. This is a key element because, as you know, also in the life cycle, this capability of embracing the whole life cycle, this holistic perspective is very useful because it avoids what we call in LCA the burden shifting, and also in this case it avoids the social burden shifting, which means that benefits that, for example, might occur for some stakeholders in some life cycle stages are achieved at the expenses of impacts for other stakeholders in other life cycle stages. And at the same time, so this broad life cycle perspective allows to identify potential trade-off, not only among stakeholders, but also among the different life cycle stages. So we might have potential social impact in relation to, for example, milk production step for stakeholders, workers, because they might be positively affected in terms of value creation, but they might suffer, there might be local communities suffering for impeding the access to material resources, where material resources are meant in terms of water or land, for example. So there are these kind of trade-off that are highlighted by the methodology and then can be taken duly into account. Contrary to LCA, when we talk about social LCA, well, social impacts are very much related to the context, where context means not only the geographical area in which a product system is developed, but it refers also to the cultural elements, to the political landscape, to the economic situation. So everything that is somehow defining the way in which the system behaves and reacts to a certain product system that is developed. So the context means then that evaluating the social impact of a production system, such as the pastoral system in a certain area in Sardinia, might have different characteristics than elsewhere else. And this is very important to acknowledge, and this is what makes the assessment very peculiar compared to LCA. We can move to the next one, and I will introduce you the topic of the different kind of assessment. For what kind of uses can a social LCA better supports organizations? And this support can be on many levels. First of all, social LCA is a methodology that can greatly support the management of risks along the value chain, because it's identify potential hotspots along the value chain, which means it's able to identify whether there is something that is harmful potentially, that might not be known by the organizations. And this is a way for supporting the improvement process of the overall value chain. It's also a very powerful tool for supporting the disclosure of non-financial information in a structured way. And it also supports organization in defining a strategy for the development of social policies, thanks to this capability of providing really a broad and comprehensive overview of where potential impacts might arise along the value chain and how relevant they might be. So the way in which the organization can prioritize intervention also in relation to social aspects. But remember that we are not talking only about negative impacts, we are talking also about positive impacts. So social LCA is a methodology that supports valorizing these benefits that characterize a product system along the value chain. Last but not least, given the structure of the methodology itself, which somehow mirror the LCA, but has differences as mentioned before, it can be performed together and in a consistent way with, for example, life cycle assessment and also life cycle costing methodology in order to support a more holistic sustainability assessment and understand the trade-off among the different dimensions of sustainability. One element that I didn't mention before that is important is that social LCA is a methodology that has been developed in order to be applied at product level. So this is one important characteristic compared to other methodologies for the social assessment, even if we can apply it also to organization. But the key distinguishing element is the application at product level. It can deliver results that are both quantitative and qualitative and also semi-quantitative, and which is something new compared to what LCA is able to deliver. And we will try to give you some examples on these different type of results. How social LCA works in a very simple way. The methodology is structured along the stakeholders categories, as I introduced at the beginning, and that you can find on your left side. Typical stakeholder categories accounted for in the methodology are workers, local communities, society, consumers, value chain actors. We have also animals, and we have also children as additional categories. And the different stakeholders, might be affected by different type of impacts that you find in the second column. And these impact categories are represented, for example, by human rights, working conditions, cultural heritage, socio-economic repercussions, or health and safety, and many others. Linked to these impact categories, we have another layer which is represented by subcategories that are not listed over here because they are too many. And these impact categories represent socially significant themes that are the ones that are assessed through dedicated indicators. Just to give you an example of what social subcategories might be, for example, in relation to the stakeholder workers, an example of subcategories and then of social themes is represented by fair salary, forced labor, equal opportunity or discrimination, health and safety, employment relationship, or the category of smallholders, including farmers. When we talk about local community, for example, we address social themes such as access to material and material resources, or delocalization and migration, cultural heritage, respect of indigenous rights, community engagement, local employment, or secure living conditions. And when we talk about society, we account for social themes such as contribution to economic development, or prevention and migration of armed conflicts, or ethical treatment of animals, for example, and poverty alleviations, and many others. So the assessment is carried out, can be carried out from the left to the right or vice versa. So which means that stakeholders are identified, who represent those who suffered the most in terms of social impacts, positive and negative, from the product system. And then these workers are the type of impact categories that suffered the most are identified by these impact categories. And then subcategories are identified, and they are measured through specific indicators, but also the other way around. This structure we will see is the one currently used and applied for products related social life cycle assessment. And we will see that when we talk about pastoral system, we need to do a step further, because there are some inherent limitations in the current framework. And the next one, please. I mentioned at the beginning that the social life cycle assessment methodology is able to assess social risks, social impacts, and social performances. So these are three different outcomes of the assessment that can be achieved by the application of the methodology. And I will try to explain a little bit more the differences among them. When we talk about a social risk, we refer to the likelihood that something harmful might happen along the value chain of our product system. So this information delivers, the risk assessment delivers an information in terms of potential social hotspots, and the granularity at which we can highlight these potential hotspots could be at country level, or sectoral level, or a company level. So we might be able to identify that in the value chain of milk products, we have a potential hotspot related to feed production for stakeholders, workers, because of the because of the characteristic, because of that specific sector in that specific country might be more at risk in terms of fulfillment of workers' rights, for example. When we talk about social impacts, we need to distinguish whether we account for potential impact or actual impacts. When we, in LCA, we always talk about potential environmental impact, because we really don't have the capability to measure them. In terms of potential social impact, we refer to impacts whose presence is likely in terms of social consequences, and they might be the results of activities or behaviors of the organizations related to the product system. While when we talk about actual impact, we refer to those represent the changes that affect the stakeholders as a result of an activity. So they are based on real observed data. So we have evidence with us telling that that specific impact or benefit is really occurring. When we talk about social performances, we refer to something else again, and we refer to the performance in terms of how a product system behaves in relation to the organization that manages, with reference to specific conditions. And these specific conditions refer to, for example, standards known at national, international level, sector level, or good practices and or international practices. So in this case, we compare the extent to which an organization or a product has characteristics that are higher or lower compared to the known standards, the known reference. For assessing these social risks, impact and performances, we might make use of different kind of methods. Here, briefly, an overview of what these methods might be. For example, the performance assessment is carried out through the use of an approach which is called reference scales, which means that on your right side, you can see the colored legend. So we have 0, which represent our reference point, which means that the products is managed in a good way, or there are no, which means that we are fulfilling the norms, the standards, the current practices, and represent the acceptable situation. And then we have the green scores, which represents positive performance, which means that the products or the organizations is as a positive is behaving much better compared to the current situation, while the orange and the red scores, which represent -1 and -2, means that the products of the organization are behaving in a way that is unacceptable. Unacceptable, but might be under control, but it might be not under control. So no improvement might not have been undertaken at all. This qualitative type of assessment support us in identifying which part, as you can see in the picture of the value chain, are more subject at risk. For example, you see the red rectangulars, which represent the part life cycle stages, for in this case raw materials, for example, in which we might have the worst performances, and in relation to which kind of social aspect, for example, remuneration and health and safety aspect. And these results can be put in relation with the different type of stakeholders. You see at the bottom of the graph that we have the stakeholders highlighted, which are workers and local community, only 2 for the purpose of this example. So, for example, how to read this graph in the scenario 2, we see that raw materials are an hotspot in the product life cycle, for which there are the red evaluation in relation to the stakeholder workers. But we have also a local community that is affected, but for which no particular critical elements can be identified. In addition, though, this is one type of assessment. We don't have time to explain in detail when it is better to carry out one a reference scale compared to other, but of course, if there are questions in the follow-up, we can take them on board. The other example is the assessment methods. A good assessment method is the social impact. Social impact is in this case meant in a very similar way to what we have in environmental LCA, which means that we have an impact pathway that describes how a certain activity or stressors create an impact on our final area of concerns or endpoint, which in social LCA is represented by the well-being. Just to give you an example, we might have an inventory indicator that is represented by remuneration. Remuneration is a way that is an indicator that we use to measure fair wage as a social topic, ensuring a positive outcome on fair wage. So if fair wage is ensured to the workers in the specific step of the life cycle, these have the potential of create positive impact in terms of increasing social equity, and social equity in this case contribute to increase the well-being of people. This kind of pathway, of course, has to be described quantitatively. Currently, social LCA, there are only a few impact pathways developed. So this way of assessing impacts is much less developed compared to the performance that I showed you before. Last example of the assessment methods is represented by the risk assessment. Here I have reported just a few examples, a few screenshots from the article that you see references in the slides on the type of information that the risk assessment can deliver. Without looking at the numbers that are not relevant for now, you see in the table on the left that with the risk assessment, we can identify for the different indicators that represent an impact, child labor, fair salary, fatal accident, how much of these potential risks are within the value chain in terms of context, geographical context, and how many of them are outside the specific part of the value chain, in order to understand also the relevance of direct and indirect impact. So this is a useful information. And at the same time, on the right side, can give us information on where social hotspots arise along the value chain for the different life cycle stages. For example, the first circle represents the social indicator fair salary. The second one represented the contribution to economic development. And here we can understand with the risk assessment the contribution of how much that specific social impact is relevant for the different life cycle stages. So we see that fair salary is very much a topic of concern for the extraction and processes of raw materials in both cases, while, for example, in which specific geographic location that is displayed over here. So the risk assessment is an approach in which we can identify where we might have potential elements of concerns in terms of geography, in terms of life cycle stages, and in terms of specific social themes. Yes, I would say that this is enough for today. Sorry for taking a bit longer than expected. Of course, it's very brief and there might be many questions, but let's move to the next session of the conceptual framework, and then we can take some time for the discussion. And I leave the floor to Anna.
Thank you. So going a little bit deeper into the specific context of, let's say, today's meeting, we started to think about a conceptual framework for the methodological development of social life cycle assessment for the application on extensive pastoral systems, which are a very specific context, both in terms of territorial characteristics and functions of the system object of study, and actors that are involved or somehow affected by the system or can influence the system. So what we found out through a literature review and based on the expertise of the colleagues working on the Pastinova project, we understood that let's say we identified the stages of the life cycle to be considered, which are represented by the agricultural inputs to be, let's say, used for the sheep grazing. We now focus on sheep as animals, as example for the extensive pastoral system, but of course we could reason about different animals. Then we have the sheep breeding and the sheep products processing and the production of the final products, so meat, cheese, milk, and so on. And then we identified the stage of the distribution and the let's say the consumption stage. And as you can see from the this graphical scheme, there are many different types of stakeholders which are entering this kind of system and have both let's say a dual role within the system, because they are not only potentially affected by the human activities involved, but also can influence the system with their power or influence or the activities they are carrying out. And around, let's say, this the life cycle and the system considered, we identified several social aspects that need to be taken into account when performing this kind of social assessment. What we understood is that in terms of social issues to be considered, we have two kinds of issues which are entering the system in different ways. On one side, we have issues related to challenges, needs, and other aspects which are acting as drivers of change into the system. And these are, for example, the ones that we identified through this literature review and expert consultation are related to environmental challenges such as soil erosion, wildfire risks, wildlife conservation, climate variability. Then we have another category of challenges which are related to the economy and markets. So, for example, the market volatility, the rising costs of, for example, agricultural inputs and low prices for the final products. And then we have the social challenges, which can be related to land abandonment and labor shortages, which are, of course, a very relevant driver in this context. So these are basically the forces which are pushing the system towards a change, or at least they are the forces that suggest us that probably we need to change something within the system. On the other side, we identified some areas of interest for potential risks, benefits, or impacts. So how the changes in the system can basically be translated into effects on stakeholders and society as a whole, basically. In this sense, we identified four main areas, which are which of course entail many other aspects and details, and they are related to the food security and health and safety. So basically characteristic also in terms of nutritional values and biochemical composition of the final products as consumed by customers, for example. Then, of course, we need to consider the topic of animal welfare, which is very relevant in this context of extensive pastoral systems, since animals are, of course, at the center of the pastoral systems, and animal well-being can be relevant in terms of social assessment, not only for animals themselves, but also for the society and public perception of these systems, and also for the functioning of the system as a whole. The natural and cultural values of the agricultural landscape, which are, of course, very important. So, as I was mentioning before, for the functioning of the pastoral system, because, of course, depending on how the system is managed, we can see different outcomes, also in terms of ecosystem services provided, but also in terms of socio-cultural value that this landscape represents in the territorial context, which is very important to be considered and brought inside the social life cycle assessment. And finally, the socio-economic implications, which are, of course, let's say, one of the most relevant, since I think is like the economic sustainability of the system is one of the first aspects that comes to our mind, since, of course, stakeholders within the system need to sustain themselves and have an economic benefit from their activities. So this is a proposal for the conceptual framework that we are considering for the methodological development of a social assessment of pastoral systems. But of course, we will have the chance to further discuss these aspects also according to your perspectives. Going deeper into the first step of the social life cycle assessment methodology, which is related to the goal and scope definition, we would like to share with you some thoughts about the characteristics of the system we aim to assess, and also the objective of this kind of assessment. So the aim that we identified for this social assessment refer to the let's say addressing the main social risks and benefits that are associated to the production of dairy products within extensive agro-silvopastoral systems in the Mediterranean area, which is, of course, very much related to the context of the Pastinova project, but it can be, of course, replicated and extended to other contexts. But still, yeah, we needed to identify this geographical scope for the intrinsic characteristics that it has, of course. The object of study can, let's say, is represented by the dairy production system, taking the example of sheep, but as I anticipated, it can be tailored on to the specific need, let's say. So depending on the context that you are considering, of course, it can be focused on different types of animals and livestock. We keep a product perspective within the assessment, considering basically the annual production of dairy products, and let's say the annual production can be considered both in terms of mass, so kilograms or tons of dairy products, but also in monetary values, so let's say in economic terms. So, for example, in euro or other monetary values. One of the most interesting but also challenging aspects within this specific context refers to the functions of the system that needs to be accounted. And in this context, we need to address multifunctionality, since we know that extensive pastoral systems not only provide for example, dairy products, but also so food products, but also provides many other ecosystem services, but also, let's say, they provide different functions. And this is also something that we would like to further investigate together with you to collect your feedback on this specific aspect. And as a target audience for this, at this stage, let's say we identified researchers, sector experts, and policymakers as main audience that could let's say, be delivered with results or insights on this social assessment of extensive pastoral systems. So this is more or less let's say the foundation of the other methodological steps. But we would like now to ask for your opinion specifically about the functions of the system of extensive pastoral systems that you that you identify. So we would like to ask you if you could scan the QR code to enter the Mentimeter link. If you have any issue with the opening of the link, please let us know so we can find let's say a way to support you. But
maybe we can write the address here in the chat. I report it here, so in case you can't access the QR code,
yeah, I send
you
it.
can link directly
I sent it in the chat.
Perfect. We give a
just
couple of minutes.
A couple of minutes to answer. We ask you to provide 3 examples for the 3 examples of functions that you think are provided by these kind of systems.
You can write down directly.
Okay, I see some people are starting to provide feedback. I would like to share with you the word cloud that is coming out from your answers. Let's see if you can see. No, I'll stop sharing this and I'll share the other.
Also in the chat, it's okay if you provide your input and then we will integrate with the others. Yeah. We have seen that they are quite homogeneous. So ecosystem services is topic that recurs a little bit more than others, together with food production. And then we have many different kind of functionalities, which are all, seems to be all at the same level, such as preserving biodiversity, genetic heritage, manage marginal areas, again, protect traditional diets, such as the Mediterranean landscape maintenance, ecological functions, socio-cultural function. That's quite many. Cultural heritage as well.
Also, the economic side is mentioned through different namings, but still quite
indeed.
present.
Soil protection also. There's one empathy that would be interesting to understand a little bit more. The empathy part, if you can, maybe if some of you, can provide, would like to tell something about it, we would be very happy to understand more on the empathy part. Yep, we see Yolanda, please. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. Yes, it was me who printed that in because I work with sheep and pastoralism and landscape maintenance also, but I don't like to eat my sheep. So I'm involved in a lot of projects where we actually invite young people with disabilities and holiday makers, and they actually enjoy the quietness of this peacefully grazing sheep, and really are very happy to be there, and it builds their empathy and emotional literacy. And we also involved the sheep in some projects where we developed learning materials for building empathy.
Yeah, which is somehow,
especially today, when a lot of people are afraid with the political development in the world, I think it's very important to attract them to these peaceful animals grazing in a landscape.
Yeah, this is very interesting also in terms of contribution to, for example, psychological well-being. So, yeah, thanks for your insights. Antonello, please.
Yes, a very brief comment. I'm seeing the keywords shown in this screen, and I was thinking that many of the words can be considered within the general term of ecosystem services, because also food production, for instance, is considered an ecosystem service. In the Millennium Assessment, I can say scenario, no? But also, of course, the protection and the protection of a landscape, the biodiversity preservation, cultural heritage too, carbon sequestration, soil protection are all generally considered as ecosystem services. So we are just making a recap about what we have observed in our activity within Pastinnova too. So just only this comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for this remark, which is, I would say, quite crucial in this context. Let's say that the concept of ecosystem services, when talking about these kind of territorial contexts, is key also, and let's say quite challenging to be included into the social life cycle assessment perspective, but still very interesting to be explored for the interaction, let's say, between the natural environments and the effects on human well-being, which is really the definition of these ecosystem services. So thank you for pointing out. Please, Yolande.
Yes, we forgot wool production in this context, and this is again linked to cultural heritage, but also sustainable fiber development with the sheep.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, someone mentioned also through food and fibers, and but yeah, wool. Yeah, I see it. Okay, so thank you so much for these.
I think we have another hand raised, and I think we can take for
yes,
these
sure.
two last feedbacks, and then
Please.
we move to the next one. Amri first, and then Jean-Paul. Amri, please, you can unmute yourself. If you can hear us. Otherwise, we start with Jean-Paul, and then we go back to Amri. Jean-Paul, would you like to
Yes.
make a comment?
Sorry, I had
Okay.
a commitment with my microphone. If you agree, Mr. Deboeuf.
Yes.
Thank you. I think, in my opinion, the main function is food production for the whole community, and especially for the rural community. The second is biodiversity, because when sheep, extensive pastoral systems can use different type of lands and silvopastoral, agro-silvopastoral grazing, pastoral grazing, etc. So it help in it enhance the increase the biodiversity. And the last, I can't see very well, sorry. Culture heritage, yes, culture heritage, because in our region, practicing extensive pastoral systems like sheep farming, or it is heritated from father to son, more than being a job. Or this is my opinion in brief words. Thank you, and I allow Mr. Deboeuf to continue. Thank you.
Very shortly, because I agree completely with what you said. You listened, you hear me, yes?
Yes, I hear you.
Yes.
When I see the table, what are the main function of extensive pastoral system, I see that biodiversity is more or less equal with food production. What does it mean for public policy? It means that when we argue, when we try to promote and to develop pastoralism, it means that we need to show that these systems are able to produce food. And this is a very important point. Of course, we can speak of cultural heritage, of biodiversity, of social protected autochthonous breeds, of course. But for public policy, what is important is to show that these systems are able to produce food. And this is a very important challenge we try to discuss during this Pastinova project, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much all for the feedback. Very much useful. We will take all of them on board for better defining the definition of the functionality, and I think that well, it's true. I agree that most of them can be grouped under the umbrella of ecosystem services. This is very much useful. I would say that at this stage, I like keeping them so distinguishing each other, because they have different peculiarities that also from the social perspective can be very useful to acknowledge. But then definitely we will revise the definition and improve the definition of functionality.
Yeah,
I suggest we move to the next.
Thank you so much for the last comment, which makes me think about the fact that or at least we are reasoning about the possibility of incorporating the many different functions of the system within one main function, which is the one that also ensures the economic sustainability of the system, which is related to let's take the food production as representative example. And of course, we are thinking about the fact that without, for example, food production, the system as a whole probably would not exist, since, of course, stakeholders which are entering the system also need to sustain themselves from an economic perspective. So these are also our thoughts about these aspects that you also mentioned. I will come back to the presentation. Sorry for waiting. Okay, you should be able to see it, right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we would like now to go deeper into the specific stakeholders which need to be accounted within social life cycle assessment in the systems. And we would like to give you some insights on the specific stakeholder groups that we identified according to basically the state of the art on both extensive pastoral systems in the Mediterranean area on one side, and on the methodological application of social life cycle assessment on livestock systems. And we found out that these ones that are represented in the slide are the main stakeholder categories that need to be considered within social life cycle assessment, which are workers, farmers, or smallholders, which is a category that is not included in the UNEP guidelines, but still it is used by the Product Social Value Initiative, and also by many researchers. It was included as a specific stakeholder category. Then we find local community, consumers, value chain actors, which include different kind of actors, of course. So, for example, processor or industries or distributors, also actors involved in logistics and, for example, waste management, and so on. And then we find other two categories which can also be connected, let's say, because animals are considered as stakeholder category. Of course, it's they are not human beings, but still they are part of our society. So in this sense, they are considered as a stakeholder category, and the society as a whole. So these are the main stakeholders included in this kind of systems. But before
Anna,
going, yes?
We don't see the list of the stakeholders, we still see the Mentimeter. Okay.
Sorry.
No worries, we follow you.
Okay. You don't see the presentation?
Now, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but still, before going deeper into the specific categories and related social aspects, we would like to engage you again in answering to another question on, let's say, what do you think are the most relevant, just a second, because I needed to switch. Okay, you should be able to see on the same link of Mentimeter the following question.
We don't see the question yet.
I'm not presenting it yet, but till you should be able to open it in the Mentimeter. Just let me know if you are having
Yes,
issues.
Anna. Yes, Anna. I found it in Mentimeter, so
you can see it. You can see the following question, right?
yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So if you would like to answer, also in this case, providing 3 examples of social aspects related to one or more of the stakeholder categories that we presented you, that are relevant in this kind of extensive pastoral system. It can be any kind of social aspect, so something more related to social challenges or needs or potential effects that you imagine that this kind of system can have on stakeholders. And then I will
Are you all able to access the Mentimeter? In case, let us know. The Mentimeter is the same link as before. I see a comment. I reattach the link over there. Just a second. So same link as before. There's no slides at all to see. Just go to the link, and that is now in the chat, and you can write then your input over there. Let us know if there are any troubles. Can you all, I think that Anna is frozen with the connection. Just a second that we try to reconnect. So there's a problem with the connection. It seems that the computer had some issue. Anna can't share the screen anymore. I can share, but it's not enough because we need to access the Mentimeter. So if you can just wait for a little bit. Apologies, but sometimes the computer is not collaborating very much. Just a second, apologies. In that part, we really needed the Mentimeter because that's the part we need to get your feedback. Okay, now Anna should reconnect. Let's see if now it works. Okay, I will share the screen and we will access. We will do a little bit of change in the with the laptop. Sorry for being patient.
Alessandra, if you'd like, I can share it for you, and you can send me your presentation.
No, we are managing the problem with the Mentimeter because it's we need to access the Mentimeter platform. So the presentation is not a problem. Just a second. We are managing, almost there. Almost there. So in the meantime, I try to yeah, it's uploading. It's very slow. Yeah, now we manage. Okay, so I share the screen. Apologies, but sometimes Teams is not very supportive at all. Okay, so I think that you should be able to see the screen. Let me know. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see your screen. We see the results of the Mentimeter.
Exactly. Sorry, there is this part on the right side that I can't delete. But just as you can see from the Mentimeter, we have together Anna and I the same laptop.
Yes.
You see that this keyword that start appearing most frequent in terms of social aspects by the people attending our webinar today refer to employment. It's quite a recurring element, together with the cultural identity that has been also mentioned before when talking about the functionalities of the system and the cultural heritage as well. And then we have many different kind of suggestions.
Yeah, there are many are related to working conditions or labor related. I see labor availability, working force, working women. So of course, as we can see, also labor condition. As we can see, this also confirms what we had found out from literature and the expertise on the context. So this will be, of course, one of the most relevant aspects to be considered within social and psychological assessment. I also see human health.
I see one flexibility that is interesting part. Could some of you just explain a little bit more the meaning of flexibility in this context? Given that I can't see the hand raised, please jump in directly in the discussion. If you can just tell us a little bit more about the flexibility as a potential, as a relevant aspects. No. If not, we see the topic of work, as was mentioned by Anna, is also in terms of quality of work. It's mentioned this the availability of skilled workers. Emily, yes, please unmute yourself.
If we talk about flexibility in my region, north of Africa, north of Algeria, in my region, I take the example of sheep farming. The farmers, the flexibility with their breeding is to make different type of culture and livestock, and to manage the fluctuation, the change, the socio-economic changements. the global economic changements in head of all the other issues. And I think this is all for me in sense of flexibility. I'm waiting to have another other information from the other participants.
Thank you very much, Arne. We have to say that's very clear. I see also that some aspect related to the economic sustainability overall that was mentioned before, and also the tribes and cultural heritage overall. Yolande, please.
Yes, I think I put quality of work, and what I think is that for shepherds and pastoral workers, there should be the possibility to professionalize, to get support from the Ministry of Agriculture, from association, to get further training and to keep actually developing in this job. I think this is very important, and this makes out the quality, that there is support, there is a support network. And I put also in safety, that's also a bit related, because there are lots of risks when working in the pastures at the moment. In our place in Denmark, it's the wolves. They're all over. And when there are a lot of herds which are attacked by wolves, and this is very hard for the shepherds and workers in pastoralism. And so they also need to get support. And so at the moment, there is a unit at one university. They really breed the wolves. They support the wolves to develop. And that's very hard for our shepherds, so that very shepherds give up. So that's a pity, and it's not good for the landscape.
No, indeed, it's at risk.
Yeah, it's
thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
I see Athanasius also.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick general comment about this second question and the responses that we received. I can see that for some of the respondents, animals was one of the most relevant social aspects associated to extensive pastoral systems. And in fact, in the beginning of the voting, the relative size of animals was much bigger than it is currently. And I just wanted to say that this shows the importance of social LCA, because we need to consider what people believe about something. And sometimes we can be surprised about what people believe about something. And we need to be careful to consider what people believe and also to incorporate it, which sometimes can be paradoxical. So I'm just saying like a far-fetched opinion now. I'm not 100% supporting it, but anyway. So considering that many respondents consider animals as a relevant social aspect of pastoralism, this means that maybe our research should consider that people do not give so much attention on other issues. And they say that, okay, pastoralism is animals. Don't bring us, additional noise and additional things on something that is absolutely about animals. Maybe this is a consideration, but anyway, I don't want to put this under discussion. I just want to say how important is the work that you are actually doing now, because sometimes we see and listen to things that we were not expecting.
Oh, indeed. Thanks, Athanasius, for the comment. Maybe it is worth clarifying also a little bit what do we mean with the terms of relevant social aspects, because how we define the relevance of given a specific system. And the relevance is defined by two components. On the one side is what has been already investigated and what is known to be as a relevant aspect, because it generated impact in the past or is generating impact or benefits, and this is what is somehow mapped already. On the other side, relevant is what might become object of a policy initiative, and so it's something that is impacting stakeholders and is important to be taken into account. And so all these two meaning of relevance refer to information that can be retrieved from the available information. But there is a third component of the relevance, that is what matters to people. What matters to people in terms of what do they consider as important, as relevant, because it's impacting their own life and because it's impacting their own value system. And the values are definitely a key component of the social assessment. So it's really the part, the social LCA, in which we make them transparent and we use them to guide overall the assessment. So the comment, Atanasio, is very much, how to say, to the point of the work on the social LCA. Thank you. I see still the hand raised by Amri. I don't know if it was the previous hand or if you want to add something else.
Sorry, I have to go to another meeting. So if you allow me, and maybe
sure,
later after before ending if I can, I will add some things. Thank you. Thank you so
very much. Thank you for the participation.
Okay, thank you.
Athanasius, you have still the hand raised from before, or do you want to add something else? Okay. And I see Luca Maria.
I am just a participant external for Appia Network. This is a partner of Pastinova. I would add, thanks a lot for this opportunity to exchange this contribution, very rich. In my opinion, I would add another word that is, in my opinion, is very important. It is the word family, because if we can consider the pastoral systems in a context of family organizations, is very important for question of expression of different roles, engaging different activities, and in some way giving evidence of the importance of this presence in territories. We made a study on pastoral families in Northwestern Alps, and we observed the importance of give quality of this expression, and so the family in different, from the young people to the old people. So it's very, very important to transfer knowledges and to maybe to new inhabitants. This is very important. The expression of the family. This is my idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think it's very, very interesting also for thinking a little bit out of the box in some cases, and switch to and adapt, let's say, to the different social context, and also different kinds of social aggregation, which is also interesting to be included in the social life cycle assessment perspective. So thank you so much for your comments. I see another hand raised.
And I would say after this one, maybe we can move to the last part, maybe of today. Please, Martin.
Yes, I would like to say two things. I'm working in Albania, and I would rather put eco-cultural heritage than only cultural heritage. The shepherds know exactly how important and are living in links with the environment, but all the ministries and things like that, they are making a very, very big split between what is culture and what is ecological. This is my first remark. My second remark was about the person who said about the need to make some trainings for the shepherds. I totally agree, but in Albania, we went to impasse that is no more possible to go on because they wanted to make shepherd schools. But they say to the shepherd, you know nothing, we will learn you what you know. And the shepherd says, please, we are thousand and thousand years working. We also have a knowledge, even if we were not at university. I'm learning from all our Asiatic colleagues how it is important that we put together the empirical knowledge with some scientific knowledge. And both really must be cross. And we have very little time because in Albania, all the shepherds are dying and one day will not exist anymore. This was my 2 remarks.
Thank you so much. I think these are both very precious insights, since, of course, what also through social life cycle assessment we always try to do, let's say, is also integrating stakeholder perspective and knowledge, which is, as you mentioned, very precious and need to be integrated into also these kind of assessment methods. And so that's why also we wanted to engage you and incorporate your feedback. I would go yes further with the with our presentation. So we go towards the closing of our webinar, but I first wanted to present you what we found out from the, as mentioned, literature review and expert consultation. These are the most relevant aspects or social topics that were emerging from our research, and some of these aspects were also mentioned by your comments. So this is great for us that we can somehow confirm what we found out. Probably we are missing here some details or some additional aspects that you mentioned that I saw on the word cloud. So we will further analyze your comments so that we can integrate your suggestions into these social topics. But going to give you an overview, let's say, on the worker category, we found out that health and safety and working conditions were the most relevant topics, including aspects such as fair salary, equal opportunity, and this is something that many of you also mentioned. Then for the farmers category, the labor management is one of the most relevant issues, including training and innovation, job satisfaction, technology development in production, monitoring and processing. And just to mention about training and innovation, let's say this aspect is connected to what Martina was saying, in my perspective, since what I think that really needs to be done together with the farmers or shepherds is not only providing, for example, with additional tools for the I don't know, optimization of the management of the pastoral systems, but also exchanging the knowledge that indeed was developed throughout the centuries, basically, and take advantage of this knowledge, which is indeed precious. I don't know if you wanted to add something, Martina. I saw you raised your hand.
No, I think you said everything.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So going on with the local community category. Sorry, I hear. I will just close the mic. Yolande, yeah, if you can close your mic, I just hear the dog barking. But okay, for the local community category, we have the promotion of natural and cultural values in the agricultural landscape, which is also something that some of you mentioned. So the cultural heritage, the community engagement, and the living condition of the local community, which is, of course, also at the center of these kind of systems, which are, of course, involving the local community very much. For the consumers category, we refer, of course, to the characteristics of the final product, which is consumed by consumers. So the nutritional value and the health and safety aspects. We identified among the social topics also the relationships with suppliers, which can affect somehow also the, for example, final products, prices, or management strategies and logistics and so on. So referred to supply agreement. This is also something relevant, probably. I don't know if was already mentioned in the word cloud, since I didn't see anything related to this, but still.
Kala, sis.
Sorry, I see someone. Okay. Then for the society category, we consider food security and socio-economic repercussions as main social topics. And with the animals, of course, animal welfare, including health, the space allowance given to animals, and the animal transport as main social issues. If you have any comments or suggestion related to these topics that are represented in this slide, please feel free to intervene as you wish, since any kind of consideration from your side would be very important for us, so that we can have some sort of validation of these kind of social topics that we derived from the literature. Yes, please, Antonio. Antonio Lopez Francos. Yeah.
You can unmute your microphone. We see Antonio first, and then Antonio Frank as a second.
I cannot hear. I don't know if any of you can hear Antonio.
No, we can't. We can't hear well.
We can't hear you.
Antonio Lopez, can you hear us? Otherwise, we go to Antonio with Antonio Franca.
Thank you, Alessandra. I think that Antonio has some trouble with the mic.
It could be.
Yes, in the chat it's saying that he has unmuted the mic, but it does not work. Anyway, just a rapid comment. I think that something is missing in this list. And unfortunately, I would say policymakers are missing. I said unfortunately because, you know, in our pastoral systems in Europe, and this is one of the result of our Pastinova activity, pastoral systems are really, I would say, dependent from policy decision, policy measures, at national and regional level. So unfortunately, it means exactly this. But when we talk about stakeholders regarding the pastoral systems and pastoralism in general, of course, we should consider them as relevant stakeholders too. Yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it's very important also to have this kind of insights from you, because of course policymakers is certainly a relevant group that can influence also these kind of systems in a quite relevant way. It is not generally included within the standard stakeholder categories as indicated by the UNEP guidelines and the standard methodology, let's say, but it is for sure entering the system and influencing it in a quite different way, let's say, because it doesn't really refer to a specific stage of the life cycle, I would say, but rather the life cycle as a whole. So influencing like the socio-political and cultural system, of course, it has an effect on the life cycle of the of study, let's say. But thank you so much for your comments. For sure, we will try to incorporate also this consideration.
And regarding this, maybe what could be useful, because for Antonio, Franca, is that as Anna mentioned, the policy perspective enters in the framework in a different way, not as a stakeholders categories, but as those group of people that somehow are contributing to defining the drivers of the system, the opportunities and the challenges. So if we can identify what are the main opportunities and challenges driven by the policy, this then can be translated in terms of social impacts and social benefits. So I would suggest you think in terms of opportunities and challenges driven by the policy, and if we can map and identify them, that would contribute to completing this list of social topics.
Just to answer to a comment referring to the social sustainability that can be approached from a society and a farmer's point of view. This is indeed what social life cycle assessment tries to do, let's say, to consider the many different perspectives. So understanding how the stakeholders enter into the system. And as mentioned before in the presentation, we understood that the different categories of stakeholders have both a, let's say, active and passive role, let's call it like that, in the sense that they are both influencing the system and can be affected or benefiting from the system. So in this sense, within the social life cycle assessment methodology, we would like to incorporate the different perspectives, so has to have the most holistic understanding of the context. I don't know if with this comment I provided more information to better understand how we address social sustainability.
I see Dunya with the hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for those presentations. I'm Dunya Khouri from Lebanon. I'm founder and president of Women's Association of Deir al-Ahmar. We are in a rural area of the Bekaa of Lebanon, where we have a lot of shepherds. What I would like to highlight on what we are doing on the Pastinova project, which is something very specific for innovations, to create the innovation model that we have seen all over the Pastinova project. So it could be great to have specific content regarding this issue. I don't know if it seems important to highlight exactly on the innovative models. For example, our model is like speaking about agrotourism, which is linking the shepherds with the local community, with the heritage, with the products. So it is something very important to highlight on. Thank you so much. It was very interesting and looking to improve the sector altogether. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I don't know if there's someone else that would like to comment on this. Otherwise, we could go towards the closing of our session, and just to give you an input on what can be done next. Of course, let's say your participation today was really precious for us. And what we plan to do later is to analyze better the comments that you provided on the Mentimeter, and also by commenting within the teams, and systematize a little bit the results, basically, from this interactive session. And according to that, we also would like to develop a survey, which will take some more, let's say, time from your side, in the sense that we would need to better describe what we need to understand together with you. Specifically referring to the availability of data within the context that you know, in view of performing an overall social life cycle assessment. So this is something more related to the application of the methodology on the specific context. And so from your side, if you would like to keep on contributing in this sense, you could answer to the survey that we will be circulating with at least with the Pastinova partners, and then we'll see how we can handle it also together with the colleagues from the CNR. But it would be very important for us if you would like to provide further insights. And of course, if you have any additional, I don't know, doubt or question, of course, but also comment or suggestion, please feel free to contact us in any moments, because any kind of information or opinion for you would be extremely relevant for us. And yeah, I would say this is all from our side. I would like to thank you so much for the participation today, for your active participation, and for your attention to our presentations. Thank you so much.
Antonello and Enrico, if you would like to just do some concluding words, we leave it to you.
Yes, with pleasure. Thank you to Alessandra and Anna for this very fruitful webinar. I think that it was very useful. Also, and especially for the very effective participation of each participant. We keep in touch for the further step with a lot of expectation. My general reflection is that for improving this sector, we need to move from a romantic point of view, for a romantic perspective of the sector, to a science-based evidence data. So it is important to investigate also social aspect for this reason. I can say then that pastoralism is not dead.
Thank you, Enrico, and I would say thank you to Alessandra, to Anna, because this is the beginning of a new, I cannot say a new era, but I would say a new scientific scenario, because you know, the general narrative in the last years about pastoralism in some cases has been very negative in terms of impacts, in terms of relation with climate change. And so this negative narrative, as Enrico was saying before, could be corrected only if we are able to put on the table scientific data, and social LCA is for sure an alternative metric about the study regarding the analysis and the study on impacts that could be added to the conventional LCA, nutritional LCA, and other metrics for completing the narrative, and for saying, yeah, we have some impacts, of course, in terms of pastoral systems, but we can also provide something else that could be beneficial for communities, beneficial for the market, beneficial for the healthy population, and so on. So thank you very much for all of you, and thank you for all the persons that attended this webinar. And I would say that the next step we have as Pastinova is a workshop in Italy at the end of March, 26, 27 March. We will organize a workshop in Gagliano Aterno in the Abruzzo region. And when in this occasion, we will talk about pastoral schools, we will talk about innovation, innovative models, and many of the attendants today will participate in presence in Italy, and this is important, and many other will attend online. So thank you very much, and have a good day. I don't know if Thanos and Marisol would say something finally.
Thank you, Antonello. Not really, just to thank the speakers today for such an interesting presentation. We had a lot of participation, at least in attendance, and of course the tool that you used was very helpful to get the information that you are looking for. Just for the participants to stay tuned for the next webinar that will be in the first week of April on the policies, the white paper that was produced within the Pastinova project. So stay tuned on the social media accounts, and the materials of this webinar will also be available in our website and Pastinova platform. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a nice day.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. See you soon.